Okay, welcome to another video. What we're going to be doing today is taking a look at another version of Garuda Linux, but this time we're going to be checking out their KDE Dragonized version. Now on the website you can download a couple of different versions, one of them being the standard sort of edition, which is around about 2.2 GB, and then you can also download the gaming edition, which is a bit larger at 3.5, and that's the version we're going to be taking a look at today. So we're in the live environment right now, and as per usual we're going to install it natively onto the main desktop here and take a look around. For those of you who like to skip the installation, there'll be a timestamp in the description below. So let's get going. So of course it uses the Calamares installer, much like all of the other versions of Garuda Linux, and we want Europe London and go to the next step. English UK, and let's make sure that keyboard is behaving itself. Okay, so we're going to be using the Drevo, which is the new drive that we're going to be using for the rest of these videos, and we're going to do an erase disk and do swap with Hibernate because we like to test those things out. So of course we have three partitions here, one for our swap, one for our root partition which uses the BTRFS file system, and then one for our EFI partition. Next. Okay, user account time. So we're going to call this one Eagle Boy, sticking with the naming traditions we have gone for so far with Garuda Linux, and we're going to log in automatically and use the same password for the administrator account. So let's just double check on the summary to make sure everything is looking as it should. Now I'm going to pause the video here and we'll be back once this is fully installed. Okay, so the installation has complete and that took around about 5 to 6 minutes on my machine. With that being said, let's reboot and check out our freshly installed KDE Dragonized Garuda Linux desktop. Right, so we've booted up for the first time and we are greeted with a welcome to Garuda Linux. Would you like to start the setup assistant to finish your installation? Let's go ahead and go for it. Hey, that's quite cool. I don't know if you noticed, but as you sort of have a window focus, the background actually blurs out. I quite like that. So let's press yes and move on to what we've got to do here. So setup assistant, do you want to get a recent mirror list? Yes. Okay, so we've got United Kingdom, so that'll do us. Let's go okay. So it's now testing the mirrors. Speeds are looking okay. Right, so that's that part done. So here we have our mirror list here for pacman.d. So we're going to save that to the pacman.d mirror list file. Okay, update the system and let's go for it. Again, another password prompt. So it's going to open it up in a terminal and do the update command for Arch Linux. And that's going to go ahead and do a total download of 5.5 MB. So we're going to press Y to let that go through that. Okay, so that appears to have completed and it's now asking us to press enter to continue. Now we have, do you want to upgrade to Ultimate? You can select which apps you want. Okay, let's have a look. Let's press yes. Do you need CGK font support? Yep. Do you need printer scanner and Samba support? I actually don't for this machine, so we're going to press no. Do you want to install additional Garuda wallpapers? Okay, let's go for it. Do you require enhanced AppImage integration? Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's do that. So we're probably going to use AppImage Launcher or something similar to that to integrate AppImages into our system. And I'm a big fan of AppImages. Okay. Do you want to install additional KDE applications? Let's press yes and see what that's actually going to install. Okay, so it appears we can choose through a few little things here. So at first we have our Office suite of applications. So we're going to go for Fresh, LibreOffice, which will be the most recent sort of package of LibreOffice. But we could also get things like WPS, an online wrapper for Microsoft Office, FreeOffice, Yozo, Calligra and a few others. And Joplin, which is actually a note application I'm starting to use a little bit. I'm using it to kind of replace any other sort of note-taking applications I have been using in the past, and so far it seems to be doing an okay job. You can sort of sync it with Nextcloud and all of that good stuff. So let's press OK. Okay, which browsers do you want? So of course we come pre-installed with Firefox, so I think we can just skip any additional web browsers, although Firefox out of the box doesn't work with a global menu. Oh, it does. So they've added full global menu support for Firefox. Okay, that's very cool. I'm very happy about that. Let's keep going then. So we're just going to leave it on Firefox then. We're going to press OK. Now we can choose communication software. So we're going to get Telegram and Discord, and there's Tyler Tech's channels for both of those things. There'll be links in the description below. And an email client. Let's go for, let's leave it on Thunderbird. Okay, what audio software do you want? So we've got Olivia, Audacious, Cantata, Lollipop. Do we have Elisa or anything like that? I don't see it, so we're going to leave that now and just go to the next step. So, which video editing software do you want? Of course, we're going to be using KDE Live to edit this video, but we're also going to grab OBS, unless it is already actually on here. So OBS is already on there, so we're not going to worry about that. KDE Live isn't, so we're going to go ahead and press OK to install KDE Live, and we're going to grab GIMP as well. Okay. What multimedia software do you want? Okay, there is quite a lot of options here in the sort of post-installation setup. I quite like it though. I don't know whether I'd prefer this to be integrated into the actual sort of Calamares installation, but I do quite like this so far. So do I want anything like this? You could get Conky there if you want your sort of desktop widgets and things like that. I'm going to skip all of that. I'm pretty good, I do believe. So we're going to go OK. So again, you can get some sort of development software. I don't really need any of this, but we'll leave Visual Studio Code enabled. But we could also get Emacs, Plasma SDK, Atom, PyCharm, but we're going to just go ahead and press OK. Next up, which virtualization software do you want? So I'd usually use a Virt Manager, but we're not really going to do any virtualization while we're in here, so we can skip that part as well. Okay, choose additional optional dependencies for GIMP, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. Choose optional dependencies for localize, again we're just going to leave that as it is. And choose optional dependencies for Plasma Meta, and it's going to be a little theme there for Grub. Let's go ahead and grab the Breeze Grub theme. And what else have we got? So optional dependencies for Critter, again I'm not too worried about that. And I'm not too worried about that one. X11 SSH ask pass SSH authentication, I'm okay as well. Choose optional dependencies for Kimtoy, again we're all good. Choose optional dependencies for VLC, so it's quite a long-winded process this, to be fair, but anyway, again I'm not too worried about any of that or any of that for KDE Live. Okay, so that should be the end of that sort of initial setup there. So what I'm going to do now is pause the video and we'll come back once it has fully complete. Okay, so that has now complete with the setup assistant, and it's asking us if we want to remove it. We will remove it as we've now gone through those steps, so we're going to press yes to remove the Garuda setup assistant, and it's just going to do like a Pac-Man S remove for that one. So we'll press OK and let it do that for us now. And while it was doing that, I want to show you how much it was actually downloading there. So I took a quick screenshot, and as you can see there was about a gig almost on the dot there of stuff to be downloaded. Now I also want to show you that during the update process, because Garuda Linux uses BTRFS as its default file system and comes pre-installed with Timeshift, it's all set up in a way to sort of take automatic snapshots when you do things like system upgrades. So if we open up Timeshift, we should see an auto snap here, and if we just full screen now, we can read the comments, and as you can see there, Timeshift auto snap created before upgrade. So if anything was broken or anything like that, we could then roll back to the previous image when everything was working and have a little investigation and see what's going on. So let's close that off for now. Okay, so we've got the welcome screen here. I don't know if there's too much we really need to do. So the Garuda Assistant, okay, lets you do things like system maintenance, BTRFS, settings and privacy. We then have the Garuda Settings Manager, which is where you can change things like your kernel, time and date, user account settings, hardware configuration and all of that good stuff. We then have Garuda Gamer. So I checked this out, I do believe on the Wayfarer edition, but it'll probably have a better place on this kind of desktop as this is the gaming edition. But as you can see here, it has got a load of different launchers there for sort of different game sort of storefronts. And then you can also do the emulations with all of these other packages here. It doesn't appear that we've got any emulators installed out of the box, but I do believe we've got quite a bit of gaming stuff that we'll take a look at in a moment, and we'll even try and launch a game or two using Steam and see how that all performs as well. So let's close that off for now. We then have boot options, the partition manager, which should probably be KDE partition manager. It is indeed. Let's just quickly type in our password. Bang, there we go. Look at all that ZRAM there. And then we have the Timeshift system cleaner. I can't remember if this is Stacer or BleachBit, so it's using BleachBit for system cleaning, which is quite a cool little program. I use this a lot myself actually. It just lets you sort of clear things like cache for certain packages and all of that good stuff. So as you can see there, we have Evolution, Firefox and GNOME, as well as your system, Journal D and everything else. So let's close that off for now. We then also have quick access, so I think these might be the little toggle things. Nope. So choose optional dependencies for quick access.git. So we could get Redshift to change the color temperature of our screen. I don't know if this has it installed. I don't think it does, but you can do night color in here with sort of the KDE settings, I do believe. Yeah, so you can make the screen warmer to reduce eye strain. So we don't really need Redshift as well. So we're going to go ahead and just press choose, type in our password and see what that does. So that's refreshing and to install. So we don't actually have the quick access install. So what that's doing now is just installing that from the welcome screen there. Okay, and here we go. So these are like little kind of sort of quick toggles to do quick little functions. So as you can see here, we can do things like mute, change the volume, adjust brightness, rotation, as well as some hardware stuff here. So we can turn cameras off, keyboard off, touchpad off, etc. I'm still not too sure how useful this is on a desktop operating system. It's probably quite good on a phone. So as you imagine on your notification screen, when you pull that down, you have those little quick toggles. I'm still yet to be swayed on how useful that actually is on a desktop. So I think that's pretty much everything there that we're going to be checking out in the welcome screen. And of course we do have some links to their web forums and their website and contact us and all of that good stuff. So let's take a little look around at the desktop then. So of course we do have a dock at the bottom, which is a latte dock. So if we go into the configure latte, we can then check it out in here, as well as the layouts and the preferences. And it's got a little layout here of Garuda Linux, and I don't think we have any additional layouts actually ready to go out of the box. So it appears we just have the one of Garuda. So let's just discard any of those changes there, and of course it has the icon zoom enabled out of the box. So at the top, I do believe this is also a latte panel, so it's not a sort of a traditional KDE panel. It's instead using latte dock for your paneling. And then to the top left, we also have a standard KDE application launcher. And we'll go through briefly some of the applications, but it's going to be quite a lot installed out of the box, so we're not going to spend too much time checking everything out. So we'll start in development. So we have the icon browser, the Qt stuff for designer assistant, a debus viewer and linguist, user feedback. Now in games, we are going to quickly open up Steam. So let's just let that do the update in the background, because we'll test it out of a game or two in just a moment. So we also have a DOSBox, a Game Hub, a G-Overlay, Itch, Lutris is pre-installed out of the box, as you would expect from sort of a gaming desktop distribution. Mindtest, a GOG client, Oversteer, a Retro Arch for some nice little old school retro-y games. And then we also have things for the arcade, some mini games. We have Mario, we have T-Worlds, and then in board games we have K Mahjong and Knights, which is a chess game. And in card games we have Solitaire. So that's pretty much everything for gaming. Now in graphics, we have a 3D LUT Maker, Curve Viewer, Display Cal, Gwen View for image viewing. We'll log into Steam in just a moment. We then also have Ocular, Profile Loader, Scripting Client, a Synthetic ICC, Test Chart Editor, VRML to X3D and XDVI. So that's pretty much everything in graphics. I thought we installed GIMP. Perhaps we didn't, so we'll have to install GIMP as well in a moment. I thought we chose that, but perhaps I didn't actually select it. So now on internet, we of course have the SSH and a VNC server browsers. We have a Discord, we have Firefox, we have the KDE Connect stuff to sync wirelessly Android phones with your notifications, and you can do remote commands and all of that good stuff. We have the KGET downloader manager. We have KRDC for remote desktop clients, which I do believe uses the RDP protocol, which you'll find on Microsoft. We then have a KRFB, a Mumble voice client. Another thing for KDE Connect, BitTorrent is our torrent client. We then have a remote viewer to access desktops. We have Streamlink Twitch GUI. We have SyncThing GTK, which I've never actually used, but some people have said good stuff about SyncThing. And then of course we have Telegram, which we chose to install in our setup assistant. Multimedia, we have MPV Media Player. We have a Noise Torch. We have OBS Studio, Pulse Audio Equalizer, the V4L2 test and capture utilities, and again the Twitch GUI. Now in Office, we don't have LibreOffice Fresh either, so I don't think it's actually installed everything that we chose to. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to want to go ahead and also install an Office suite of applications, because for some reason it didn't quite go through in a setup assistant there. So of course we have Add or Remove Software. So this is your PAMAC GUI Manager. Here's where you're going to install most of your applications and manage your updates. And if we go into preferences, we can also enable the AUR Arch user repository, because I think it's disabled out of the box. No, it was enabled. There we go. Okay, interesting. Well, let's keep moving. So I don't think there's too much else in internet we really want to take a look at there. settings, sorry. So of course we also have core control, we have fan control GUI, firewall configuration. Again, it'll be very simple stuff that we should all be used to. There we go. So of course you have your rules, your report, your login, and then the status, as well as incoming, outgoing, and your profile. So we have profiles for public, office, and home, and then you can switch between them like so. Okay, let's keep going in settings. We have the SC controller, and of course we have Cavantum there. And while we're here, let's pop open Cavantum and see what the active theme is. So the active theme is Sweet Transparent Toolbar, and we'll look at the global theming in a moment as well, because it's quite a nice looking desktop out of the box, and I think it uses a theme package called Sweetified or something like that, which we'll check out in just a moment. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything I want to check out in settings. System. So Alacrity is our terminal emulator. We have ZeroConf browser, BleachBit, which is what we saw at the beginning when we was going through the welcome screen. Dolphin is of course our file manager, as we are on KDE. HTOP is installed out of the box, and let's have a little quick look at what HTOP says. So HTOP says 1.69. I might have to change the font sort of color palette so we can actually see what's going on there. And we've got a rather large swap there of 69.7 GB, and we'll test out hibernation with that in just a moment. Okay, is there anything else I want to take a look at in here? We also have a virtual machine manager installed out of the box, so it has Virt Manager installed out of the box anyway. So here is how we could sort of manage virtual machines, and Virt Manager is what I would tend to use over something like VirtualBox. I kind of switch between the two though on my actual host operating system. Sometimes one works better than others for certain operating systems, but with Virt Manager you can also download sort of like ARM support and do all cool stuff like that. So let's leave that closed and keep moving. Now we're going to jump straight into utilities. So again, some sort of gaming stuff here for gamepads to control a variety of programs. Emoji selector, Kate is your text editor. Latte dock, which is of course at the bottom there. So it comes pre-installed with the Nextcloud desktop syncing client. Noise Torch, OpenRGB, Piper, software tokens, Wine Tricks, so it's got the whole sort of wine stuff installed out of the box, and there will be a little category for wine here as well. And I don't think there will be anything currently installed in programs apart from of course the classic Windows and Notepad. So that's just updating our wine stuff now at the moment with the wine configuration. There we go, you got your nice old school Notepad. Okay, what I'm going to do is quickly pause the video and set up Steam and a few things like that, and we'll test out some gaming and see how we go with that. So I'm going to pause the video now and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so we're all logged into our Steam account now, and if we go into the Steam Play settings for the Proton stuff, as you can see there, we've got some experimental stuff as well as the Boxstrom for native, a DOS box. So what we're going to do is test out of a little round or two of CSGO, and then we'll see how it performs with frames per second on that. And we might also test out Doom. I do believe Doom Eternal should be installed, and we'll test that out as well. Okay, let's have a little round of CSGO, and we'll see how the sort of frames per second goes there. You can see it on the net graph just at the bottom of the screen. So at the moment we're flicking from anywhere between sort of 220 to about 280. Double headshot, we got him, we got him. Right, we're going to run away now because we've got 6 HP. Actually, let's go and get ourselves killed, and then we can test out Doom Eternal as well. Did you get him? Woo! We got that one as well. Alright, let's get this last guy. He's around here somewhere. Oh, sorry, bye. Alright, I don't know how we're still alive with this 6 HP, but we'll see how we're going. Oh, we got an assist for that kill as well. But no, performance is pretty much nice. It's not any better than what I would usually expect. Go and defuse the bomb. Okay, we've won that round, and now what we're going to do is test out a couple of sort of minutes on Doom Eternal, and we'll see how that performs as well. Okay, so here we are in Doom Eternal. I've not actually played through the story yet, so I do actually need to sit down and get some time just to play Doom Eternal. But if you can see in the top left there, we've pretty much got a stable 60 FPS, and it is locked at that, and we're at the highest sort of settings for 1080p. So to be honest with you, I'm quite happy with that as well. We're not going to play too much on here because I do just need to actually set aside a day or two to actually play through this story. But there we go. So performance wise, it's actually better than what I'd expected, to be honest with you. I didn't notice too much of a difference there on CSGO. However, it did feel very smooth actually playing it. So I do every now and then test out a different distribution here and there for CSGO in particular. And every now and then certain distributions do feel a bit jerky when you're playing it. Whereas on Garuda Linux, so far everything has felt very nice and smooth. So before we do a reboot and check out the RAM usage at a fresh boot and test out hibernation, we are going to open up the KDE system settings now and see what exactly they have changed from the defaults. And because we're using KDE 5.20.4, we can now click highlight change here, and then we can see that they have indeed changed quite a lot. So let's start with the global theming. So theming wise, it is the Suitified Plasma desktop, and it also has the Suite standard KDE theme there as well. Plasma style is of course Suite, and the application style is Cavantum Dark, so it's what's been set in Cavantum. And what else? So it's changed the colours, it's changed the fonts, and the icons we are using are the Beauty line. Usually I'm not a massive fan of these kind of super colourful neon colour kind of icons. I don't actually mind them though, they're a little bit in your face, but I think it ties in very nicely with the rest of the desktop theme, and it actually does look quite nice. They've also changed the cursors and the startup and shutdown. Let's have a quick look at what's changed in here. So again, this is my favourite kind of thing for KDE, is that they have manually set start with an empty session. I always get a bit annoyed when sort of KDE set up to restore from a previous session, and then we'll sort of populate your desktop with any applications that were previously open. So they've also changed the splash screen to use the Suite startup screen for your KDE Splash as well. And they've made some changes to search. And if we go into KRunner, we can also center our KRunner application launcher box so it appears in the middle of our screens. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is do a reboot, check out the RAM usage on a fresh reboot, and then we'll play around with a couple of little more things, and then we're going to wrap it up there. Okay, so here we are on a fresh reboot, and you can see it's not by any means a light desktop distribution at 1.27 GB RAM from a fresh boot, but they don't intend it to be. This kind of desktop is going to be using a bit more RAM than what you're used to, just to fulfill everything that it's kind of setting out to do. So what we're going to do now then is test out the hibernation and see if that works. Do we also have a bit of window wobble enabled out of the box there? So now we're going to open up a load of applications and test out hibernation. So as per usual, everything should remain on the screen once we have summoned a hibernation. So we're going to open GwenView. Let's also open up OBS while we're here, like so. And then we'll open up one more thing, and then we'll test out the hibernation. And if all goes well, we can wrap the video up there. So far though, I'm actually really quite impressed with this one. More impressed than any of the other versions of Garuda that I've taken a look at so far. So let's also open up Kdenlive, because we're going to be using that in a moment. We don't have Kdenlive installed, so we need to do that. I need to rewatch this and see what happened with the actual setup assistant and why some of those programs aren't there. So let's also open up the Knights chess game. Okay, so we're now going to summon a hibernation, and we're going to do it the GUI way, and if that fails, we'll then do it with systemctl. So we're going to go straight to hibernate, and I'm going to pause the video here, and as long as all of his applications are still on that screen, hibernation is worked out of the box. Okay, so we're now starting up. We are at the grub screen. Okay, so you've heard me say it before, but it's usually a good sign when you're resuming from hibernation if it brings you straight to the lock screen. So what we're going to do is type in our password. Okay, interesting. Like so, and as you can see, all of those applications have restored exactly as they were once they were suspended to disk with full hibernation. Do you know what? I'm really quite impressed with this one. I'll leave a link in the description below. You can either use the gaming version, which is what we've checked out today, or the standard KDE Dragonized version from Garuda Linux. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, you can subscribe and also join the Discord. There's a link in the description below. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.